Se me pisa that con.
I have this painting that my mom got from a secondhand store, and it's a nice painting. The only thing is the sky is much too dark and purple, and some of the branches of the plants aren't apparent enough. They need to pop out a little bit more. So if I change these two things, I think that I can save the painting. But first, I need to remove it from the frame. I have already ruined most of my larger brushes, so I'm going to use a sponge to do this. I'm going to use some titanium white, and these are watercolors, but I'm not going to add any water to it. I just want it to be a nice thin coat of white. So I'm just doing a thin layer where you can still see the paint underneath it. I think the lady was going for a purple sky because it's the complementary color to yellow. And the name of this painting is The Mustard Fields, which is predominantly yellow. It just looked so unnatural, didn't look right. Okay, now that I got a nice thin layer, just try to smooth it out so that the lines aren't really that noticeable. And then I'm gonna come through and fill in all the areas here that you can still see the dark purple. I'm gonna fill that in with a thin layer of blue. I'm gonna use a more turquoise color blue instead of the reddish blue. I got the heater going over here because it's a little bit coolish in this part of the house, so that's the noise that you hear. But for this part, I'm going to use cerulean blue. I'll use number 7 paintbrush. I'll just take it directly from the bottle and then just paint in there in between the clouds. So at this point, you're really seeing the sky starting to bright up. But I'm gonna pump up the brightness of the clouds quite a bit. I'm gonna use some of this Kills primer to really bring out the whiteness of the clouds. Try to do a thin layer so I can still see some of the work underneath it for the clouds. I'll just fill that all in. It's kind of fun to edit a painting rather than paint your own. Because somebody's already done the composition work for you and a lot of the work for you. You can just have fun, kind of like a coloring book. You don't want the clouds to have any distinctive lines. So once you put on a little bit of layer of white where the clouds go, then you can take tad bit of the paint on your brush and kind of push it out into where the sky is supposed to be to blend it in there. Just no strong lines for clouds. Make it look more natural. This is really doing a good job of getting rid of that purple. You can start to see the whole painting brighten up once the sky brightens. And I want to show you to achieve just a really light layer of white. I just put a tiny bit of paint on my paintbrush and then kind of push it out from wherever I laid down my brush in a circular motion. And that way you get the billowy look of the clouds and just a nice thin layer. Don't want to make it look like a paint by numbers. So if you're working with watercolors, a nice way to blend the colors is just to, or any acrylic really, not just watercolors, but you can just tap your brush into the water and then you can blend it into the sky a little bit so it'll pick up some of the blue that you just added, some of the turquoise. All right, so there's the sky all nice and brightened up. Pretty happy with how that turned out. Looks more like a summer's day, which I prefer over a fall or winter's day. And now I'm going to work on some of the shrubs that don't really stand out, like this here. And over here we got these shrubs that kind of look muddy and blend into the background. So first I'm gonna paint the stems out in white, and then I'm gonna come over on them with a light green to help them stand out a bit so that the painting has a little bit more depth in it, a little bit more interesting. Just use my white primer, and then I'm gonna fill in here all the things that I want to stand out. So just a light coating of the primer on the stems. I'm gonna come back with a light green paint instead of this dark red paint that just kind of fades into the background. So we're going to highlight this plant here. It's not badly painted, it's just a little muddy. You can't really see it. So this is what my mom suggested that I bring out in this painting. This painting is actually hers, not mine, but I requested that I could fix it for her because it's not quite the painting that you're happy when you look at all the time, because you notice there's some things wrong with it. So if you want to do this, make sure it's a painting that you don't already enjoy, because you might ruin it if you do it. So just something cheap. I once did this with a replica Rembrandt that was faded. It was just a print. I got it for $1 at a garage sale, and then I redid her skin and her hair and some of the accents on her clothing, and then she turned into a beautiful painting once again. But that painting was only $1, so I wasn't worried about ruining it. If you're not used to doing this, just work on something that you're not afraid to ruin. And I think that in painting, really you want to come at it with the attitude of not being a perfectionist, because nature's not always perfect. So if you paint things perfectly symmetrical, they're not going to come out looking natural if that was your goal. So it's perfectly okay to have little mistakes here and there. It's just if there's big problems with a painting that lead you to not enjoy it, you should be able to just fix them. Okay, so I got out my green, and it very appropriately is called sap green. Speaking of rules, I was just thinking about what I mentioned earlier about some rules you can break. And some people just have their own way of doing things. I remember when I was learning how to play the piano, I learned it on my own a certain way, and the piano teacher wasn't too thrilled about my fingering technique. And also, when I played basketball, I was really good at making baskets with both hands, and that kind of suffered after my coach taught me how to shoot the proper way. And my husband tells me that when I play softball, it drives the men on the team nuts when I go up to bat and I swing at it kind of like a golf club method. And they tell him, however, that he should teach me the proper way to swing. But, as my husband points out, I make really great hits on the softball team while doing it the improper way. So if you have your own way of doing things, don't worry about it. There's not just one set of way of doing things in life. Even typing on the computer, have my own way of doing that. I guess I just kind of like to figure out the way that works for me. I never really understood when people were upset about others not doing things the correct way if the results turned out well. Doesn't make sense to me. And that was kind of the case in art too. There's all these rules to follow about backgrounds and foregrounds, and I think art is just an expression of who you are. And people may not have the same taste as you, so they won't buy your painting if your painting leaves them feeling a little bit, That's why Thomas Kincaid is so very popular. It's a nice generic way of painting scenes that make everybody feel good when they look at them. That's basically how I feel about art too. I feel it should be something that makes you feel good when you look at it. There's so many things to be concerned about in life that are unpleasant. Why be reminded of them? I only buy pictures that make me happy. There was this one young artist, and she's just a brilliant artist. She created unbelievable works of art, and still does to this day. But she started out painting for hours and hours in her room, Her mom would call her down to eat. She wouldn't come to eat even. She just wanted to paint all day long, and she didn't want to bother with schooling. She just wanted to paint. So her family kind of accommodated her so that she could just focus on what she was really great at. And she makes a wonderful living at it today, and it encompasses her entire family. Her entire family is in on her same business with her. So she made a viable living for her entire family by doing it that way. Kind of reminds me of the Jesus Revolution movie, where they reached out to the hippies, even though that was not the proper way of doing things. It ended up really renewing so many people's lives through Christ. Okay, I'll wait for that to dry and I'll work on the other side. Fill it in over here. And then I think after this dries, I'm going to add a hint of yellow to tie it into the rest of the painting. But you can see how the branches already stand out quite a bit more than they did before. Okay, so I added some green to the trees up here on the horizon line as well. And this should be dry by now. That's the great thing about acrylics. So toggle over there. Now I'm going to add some lemon yellow to the leaves and the branches of this shrubbery. All right. Just kind of extend the plant out here. I think the artist was going for a fall look, and I'm going more for a summer look. Summer's my favorite season of the year. I love the bright, bright sunshine. So what I like about Kansas is that it has tons of sunshine. It's a sunflower state after all. But yeah, I can't get enough of that bright, bright sunshine. Love it. Just kind of covering up all the places that had white. And you got more of a cheery green and yellow plant in the foreground. I always like to listen to music while I'm painting. I don't have the music on now while I'm recording, but listen to a little bit of Roxette here. to inspire me to paint a summer scene because their music is bright and cheerful. Okay, let's make these leaves mostly yellow. That's my husband trying to figure out what I'm doing.
No, he's trying to bring you a nice peach
Oh,
mango smoothie.
oh, well, there you go. Right there. Let's see if I can toggle up. The best man that ever lived. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the other side and enjoy our peach smoothie
Okay.
and add a bit of yellow to this stem. Improved version, or at least improved in my eyes. I lightened the sky, added some blue, lightened up the clouds quite a bit, and I also brought more into the foreground the shrubberies. So thank you for watching.